Hi, I'm Marilyn, and this past year, I finally learned the difference between being helpful and being used. This isn't a story about revenge. It's about boundaries, silence, and what happens when the daughter who always says yes finally says no. It started with one phone call. A cheerful tone masking a familiar ask. "We don't have room for your husband this Christmas." Not a stranger, not an acquaintance, my husband. Daniel, who's been by my side for 8 years. The same man my parents never quite welcomed, never prioritized. But this time? They didn't just forget to ask. They excluded him, outright, to make room for my sister's new boyfriend. And for once, I didn't argue. I didn't defend my marriage. I said the words that changed everything. "No problem." Then I went to my filing cabinet, pulled out 6 years of quiet, invisible generosity in the form of property tax receipts, nearly $59,000 I paid without their knowledge, and stopped the payments. The county doesn't do family drama. It just does math. And unpaid taxes. My parents had no idea their home had been one automatic debit away from foreclosure for years. My father had spun his usual stories. My mother had believed him. They thought the system was rigged when the notices came. They blamed the county. They blamed clerical errors. Eventually, they blamed me. Because when the safety net disappeared, when I disappeared, the cracks started showing. Fast. What followed was 6 months of phone calls, guilt trips, accusations, and finally, a full collapse. Watching them scramble, beg, and bargain wasn't pleasant. But it was honest. For the first time, they were feeling the consequences I'd been shielding them from all along. And when they lost the house, they didn't blame themselves. Of course not. They blamed me. Except it wasn't me. It was them. Their choices. Their favoritism. Their inability to see me as anything more than the responsible backup plan. Now, a year later, they live in a smaller place. Vanessa's wedding is coming up. The invitation finally had Daniel's name on it. Progress, maybe? But not repair. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just free. The first Christmas without them was quiet. Daniel and I made duck, opened gifts from each other, and turned our phones off. We didn't pretend it was normal, we just let it be what it was. Something new. Something peaceful. No forced smiles, no awkward tension, no side comments about Vanessa's amazing job or the way Daniel just doesn't seem to talk much. He's an introvert. It's not a flaw. I wish I could say I didn't think about them that day. But I did. I pictured my mother fussing over the table, Vanessa smiling wide as Travis told some boring story about his time on the college rowing team, and my father quietly sipping his wine, content to be surrounded by real family. That's what he said once, during an argument I'll never forget. "Vanessa brings people into the family. You bring problems." And I'd believed it for years. I'd swallowed my frustration, told myself to be grateful, told myself Daniel didn't mind. He did mind, he just didn't say it until I asked. And when I finally asked, he told me the truth. "I feel like they don't think I matter. And that's starting to make me wonder if you think I matter." That conversation haunted me more than anything else. So I didn't go back. Not after Christmas. Not when they begged in February. Not when the tax bill passed $4,000. Not when they tried to guilt me in March. I just stayed still. That silence? It spoke louder than every polite conversation I'd ever forced myself to have. And slowly, things began to crack. The pride my father held onto like a religion began to unravel. He went to war with the county, yelling at commission meetings, calling lawyers, claiming fraud. Nothing worked. By May, the lien was official. Foreclosure was next. That's when Vanessa called. I hadn't heard her voice in months. "Mom and Dad need help," she said flatly. "They're asking for $5,000. Said you'd cover half. That true?" "No," I said. "They asked me first." "They haven't asked you yet." "Why not?" I didn't answer. She paused. "Is this still about Christmas?" There it was again. That maddening oversimplification. "No, Vanessa," I said. "It's about every Christmas. Every birthday. Every choice they made where I was the backup plan and you were the guest of honor." She got angry. Called me selfish. Told me I was letting our parents lose their home over pettiness. I reminded her I'd paid for that home to stay standing for 6 years. Then I hung up. Daniel made tea and didn't ask questions. He knew. He knew what it felt like to always be the one who compromises, the one who bends so others don't have to. He knew how heavy silence could be. The guilt came in waves. But underneath it, a strange calm started growing. Like I was standing up inside my life for the first time. They sold the house in August. Quietly, quickly, without telling me. I found out from Aunt Ruth. They moved into a condo near the mall, she said, voice low like it was a scandal. Your father's been miserable ever since. Your mother hasn't stopped crying. I said nothing. Because what was there to say? That I was sad too? That I didn't want them to lose the house? Because I was sad. But sadness isn't the same as regret. They had a choice. So did I. And I made mine. 3 days before Thanksgiving, I got the group text. It was from Vanessa. Travis and I have an announcement to make at Thanksgiving. Everyone needs to be there. The double exclamation points were very her. So was the assumption. I didn't respond. 10 minutes later, my mother called. Marilyn, honey. You are coming, right? Vanessa has some very exciting news. Will Daniel be welcome this year? I asked, calm, direct. Of course. Why would you even ask that? I smiled, bitter and small. Just checking. I didn't commit to anything. Just like the last 50 times they tried to reel me back in without ever truly apologizing. But the pressure came anyway. Thanksgiving morning, while Daniel and I were drinking coffee on the patio, Vanessa texted me directly. You better be here. Don't ruin this. That was her idea of warmth. I looked at Daniel. Ready for that duck and wine? He grinned. Thought you'd never ask. We made reservations at our favorite spot. Ordered too much food. Laughed more than we had in weeks. Our phones stayed off the entire evening. Somewhere across town, Vanessa was probably announcing her engagement. Somewhere in a cramped condo, my parents were probably trying to smile for the camera and explain why their older daughter hadn't shown up. Maybe they said I was sick. Or traveling. Or just needed space. I didn't care. Not anymore. When we got home, I turned on my phone to a tidal wave of missed calls and messages. My mother, of course. Vanessa, several times. Even Aunt Ruth had chimed in with a polite, "Hope everything's okay, dear." Vanessa's message stood out. I announced my engagement tonight. You weren't here. Mom made excuses, but I know you're punishing us. I don't know who you are anymore. I stared at it for a long time. The version of me they remembered, the one who rearranged her entire life to make theirs easier, that woman was gone. I finally typed back. Congratulations on your engagement. I hope you and Travis are very happy together. She didn't reply. Christmas came next, as it always does. I'd already made plans with Daniel to go to Iceland. Northern Lights, no phones, no drama. But before we could leave, my mother called again. There's an engagement party, she said. We'd really love for you and Daniel to come. I paused. Will there be room for Daniel this time? Of course. Why would you? Just checking. We didn't go. Instead, we went to a cabin in the mountains. No announcement speeches. No fake smiles. Just us, firewood, snow, and silence. The wedding invitation came in February. Addressed to Marilyn Morrison and guest. I stared at the envelope like it had personally insulted me. Then I mailed back the RSVP with a note. His name is Daniel. We've been married for 8 years. If you can't include his name, we can't attend. Vanessa called within 24 hours. Are you serious right now? You're going to miss my wedding over a name? I stayed calm. I miss being treated like a full member of this family for 34 years. I think I'll survive missing your wedding. You've changed. She snapped. You're bitter. You're vindictive. No, I said. I just stopped pretending it didn't hurt. She hung up. And I sat there, wondering if that was the last time we'd ever speak. I hoped not. But I also wasn't going to be the one to fix it. Not this time. The new invitation arrived 2 weeks later. This time, it said Marilyn and Daniel Morrison in proper calligraphy. Someone had paid for reprints. My mother probably. I could practically hear the gritted teeth behind every envelope she sealed. When I opened it, Daniel looked over my shoulder. So, he said, does this mean we're going? I held the thick, expensive cardstock in my hand and felt nothing. No excitement, no anger. Just a kind of cold clarity. They fixed the name, I said. But not the foundation. He didn't push. He never did. That was one of the quiet kindnesses I'd come to rely on. Spring rolled in with blue skies and daffodils. Daniel planted tomatoes in the backyard while I tried not to dwell on a question that kept looping in my head. Now that they gave me what I asked for, what do I do with it? I talked to my therapist, Dr. Chin. I'd been seeing her since January, right after the Christmas exclusion. She was calm, sharp, and didn't let me get away with vague answers. Let's say you attend the wedding, she said during one session. What would that communicate to your family? That I'm willing to accept the bare minimum. I replied. That correcting one thing on an envelope erases everything else. And if you decline? Then I'm not here to make them comfortable anymore. She nodded slowly. So the invitation isn't the issue. It's what it represents. Exactly. It wasn't about paper and ink. It was about a lifetime of being an afterthought unless I was useful. That same week, my mother called again. But this time, her voice sounded different. Softer. Careful. I've been thinking about what you said, she began. About Vanessa always being the priority. I stayed quiet. I've been seeing someone. A therapist. My jaw actually dropped. I sat down. She asked me to make a list of the ways I may have favored Vanessa over the years. It was long. Longer than I want to admit. I didn't speak. I didn't trust my voice not to break. I'm not calling to ask you for anything, she continued. Not money, not forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I'm sorry. That word. Sorry. The one I thought I'd never hear. The one I'd rehearsed accepting so many times, only to be left standing with my hurt untouched. I always thought Vanessa needed me more. She went on. She was fragile. Struggled in school. Struggled with friends. You were always so capable. Everyone needs their mother. I said quietly. I know. I do now. I didn't cry. Not then. I was too stunned. And Daniel, she added, almost like an afterthought. I never should have uninvited him from Christmas. It was cruel. I thought I was supporting Vanessa, but I realize now what I did. I'm so sorry. A long silence stretched between us. I don't know what to say, I admitted. You don't have to say anything. Just know that I'm trying. I really am. After we hung up, I sat in the living room for nearly an hour, the phone resting on my lap, untouched. When Daniel got home, he found me still there, eyes red. She apologized, I said. He didn't ask who. He just sat beside me and held my hand. What now? He asked. I don't know, I whispered. And I didn't. Because after a lifetime of being the reliable one, the invisible one, the fixer, what happens when someone finally sees you? I didn't RSVP right away. The new invitation, with Daniel's name written in perfect cursive, sat on the kitchen counter for 2 weeks like it was daring me to make a decision. On some level, I knew what I should do. The apology had been made. The effort, at least on my mother's part, had begun. But forgiveness isn't a button you push, it's a door you walk through, slowly, one step at a time. And I wasn't sure if I was ready. My father still hadn't spoken to me. Not once since the house sold. Not a text. Not a call. Just that bitter email with the subject line. I hope you're happy. The irony being, I actually was. Happier, at least, than I'd been in years. There's something strange about stepping out from under the weight you didn't realize you were carrying until it's gone. The air feels thinner. Easier to breathe. But then the guilt crept in. Not from him. From me. Because he had lost something. His house. His routine. His pride. Even if I knew, rationally knew, it was the result of his own choices, a part of me still felt like the executioner holding the sword. Daniel saw it too. He always did. You're doing the thing again, he said one night while we were folding laundry. What thing? Carrying weight that doesn't belong to you. I smiled weakly. It's muscle memory at this point. So we talked. Really talked. About the wedding. About Vanessa. About my mother's apology. About how to move forward without losing ourselves again. And one night I finally said, if we go, it's for us. Not for them. Not to smooth things over or keep the peace or play the role of good daughter. I'm not her anymore. Daniel nodded. Then let's go as ourselves. So I RSVP'd. Yes. A few days later, a text came from Vanessa. Thanks for the RSVP. I'm glad you'll be there. Mom told me about your talk. I didn't know what to say to that, so I just liked the message and moved on. The weeks leading up to the wedding were weirdly calm. I avoided family group chats. I ignored 2 passive-aggressive posts Vanessa made on Instagram. I focused on work, on Daniel, on planting herbs in the little window box above our kitchen sink. Then came the final dress fitting. My mother invited me to come along. Just the girls? She said. I almost said no. But I didn't. And that's how I ended up sitting in a boutique on a Saturday afternoon, watching Vanessa twirl in a lace-covered tornado of tulle, smiling like her life was just beginning. You look beautiful, I said honestly. She turned to me. I didn't think you'd come. I almost didn't. Vanessa hesitated. I know things have been tense. I haven't always handled it well. I gave her that much. She hadn't. I'm not great at this kind of stuff, she continued. I get defensive. I act like I don't care, but I do. I've always looked up to you, even if I didn't show it. It was the closest thing to an apology I'd ever get from her. I nodded. Thanks. Later, when I got home, Daniel was painting the hallway. How was it? Surreal, I said. She didn't insult me once. Progress. I kissed him, leaving a faint trace of lipstick on his cheek. Let's just survive the wedding and then disappear to somewhere with no cell service. He grinned. Deal. The night before the wedding, my mother called again. Just wanted to say thank you, she said. For being willing to come. For giving us a chance. You're trying. That matters. There was a pause. Your father probably won't say anything. But he's glad you're coming. Even if he won't admit it. I didn't reply. I'd believe it when I saw it. The wedding day arrived bright and clear, the kind of day people write poems about. No clouds, no wind, not a hint of drama in the sky. Shame the same couldn't be said for the guest list. Daniel and I arrived early, mostly to avoid the circus of small talk. We found our seats near the front, next to Aunt Ruth, who whispered, "Well, you look radiant, dear," like she hadn't spent the last year awkwardly avoiding eye contact at every family gathering. Daniel gave her a polite smile and held my hand beneath the table, a small, grounding gesture I didn't realize I needed until I felt it. The ceremony was held at a picturesque vineyard just outside the city. White chairs lined up on manicured grass, a string quartet playing something classical and vaguely romantic. Vanessa appeared in a blur of lace and perfectly arranged curls. She looked stunning, to be fair. Glowing. And Travis, well, he looked like a man who knew how to smile in group photos. The bar was low. When the officiant reached the "Speak now or forever hold your peace" part, I swear my mother flinched. I didn't speak. But I could have. After the vows, the crowd migrated to the reception tent, a Pinterest fever dream of fairy lights, eucalyptus garlands, and monogrammed napkins. I made a beeline for the wine. It wasn't long before my father found me. Not by accident. "Marilyn," he said flatly. "Dad." We stood awkwardly beside the cheese display like strangers pretending not to be related. He looked older. Not just in the way people age, but in the way pride wears a person down once it's been scraped raw. His suit looked a little too tight, like he hadn't tried it on since the house sale. His eyes, though, were sharp. Watchful. Waiting. "Glad you made it," he said. "Thanks." Pause. This couldn't have been easy. For anyone. He wasn't wrong. But I didn't owe him comfort. "I came for me," I said. "For Daniel. And because Mom apologized." He flinched at that. "She's working on things." "I know." "Are you?" He bristled. "You know I've always done my best for this family." "I know you think that." Another long silence. "I lost a lot when we sold the house," he said, like I didn't know. "That was our home for 36 years. "I know. And I saved it for 6 of those years." His jaw clenched. "I didn't ask you to." "No," I said softly. "That was the problem." He looked away then. Into the crowd of people clinking glasses and taking selfies with the bride. He didn't say thank you. He didn't say sorry. He just said, "I don't know how to fix this." I took a sip of wine. "I'm not asking you to fix it," I said. "I'm asking you to stop pretending nothing ever broke." That was the last conversation we had that night. I danced with Daniel. I smiled for photos. I toasted the couple and left just after cake. No dramatic exit. No public statements. Just a quiet slip into the night with the man who had stood beside me every step of the way. The next morning, my mother called. "Thank you for coming. It meant more than you know." "I know," I said. She didn't ask how things had gone with my father. She didn't need to. Some silences don't need to be broken. Some truths just hang in the air, waiting to be acknowledged. And I was done holding my breath. We didn't talk about the wedding for weeks. Daniel and I returned home, unpacked our clothes, recycled the wedding program, and slid quietly back into our life. No debrief, no rehashing the small moments, Vanessa's watery smile during her vows, the way my father couldn't look me in the eye during the father-daughter dance, or the speech my mother gave that somehow managed to mention every family member by name except us. We didn't need to talk about it. We'd lived it. 3 weeks later, a package arrived at our door. A photo album. Vanessa had sent one to all the important guests. I flipped through it once. We were in exactly one photo, me mid-laugh, Daniel with his arm around me, eyes soft and tired. It looked real. Honest. Like two people who had survived something unspoken. I slid the album onto the bookshelf. somewhere between the Art of Boundary Setting and Daniel's collection of Iceland photography books. My mother called again in early July. "I just wanted to check in," she said. "See how you're doing." "I'm okay," I replied. And I was. Not elated. Not broken. Just okay. "I've been thinking a lot," she continued. "About what you said. About always seeing you as the capable one." I waited. "I'm trying to unlearn that. To see you as someone who needs things too. Who deserves to be supported, not just leaned on." "That's not easy," I said. "I know. But I'm trying." It was the third time she'd said that to me in as many months. And this time, I believed her. Later that evening, Daniel and I sat on the porch, drinks in hand, the summer heat finally breaking into something almost pleasant. "Do you think it changes anything?" I asked him. "What?" "Her trying." He thought for a moment. "Maybe. Maybe not. But it changes you. You're not waiting anymore. That counts." And he was right. For the first time in my adult life, I wasn't orbiting around the needs of other people. I wasn't checking in, cleaning up, smoothing things over. I wasn't pretending to be fine when I wasn't. I wasn't showing up just to be forgotten. I was still present. Whole. A few weeks later, Vanessa sent a photo of her honeymoon in Santorini. A short caption. "Wish you were here." No emojis. No guilt. I stared at the screen, wondering if she meant it. Maybe she did. Maybe we'd never be close. Maybe that was okay. I texted back, "Beautiful view. Hope you're enjoying it." I didn't say I wished I was there. Because I didn't. I was exactly where I needed to be. In October, I drove past my parents' old house. The young couple who bought it had painted the shutters blue and put up a wooden swing in the front yard. 2 kids played with a golden retriever on the lawn. Halloween decorations were already starting to go up, paper ghosts on the windows, a plastic skeleton climbing the porch railing. It looked like a home built on joy instead of tension. I didn't feel angry. Or bitter. Or vindicated. I felt grateful. Grateful the house was still standing. Grateful I'd learned, finally, to stop setting myself on fire to keep other people warm. Grateful to have Daniel. To have peace. To have my own life, unapologetic, unburdened, and mine. This Christmas, we're going back to Iceland. Hot springs. Northern lights. No phones. There's plenty of room for both of us. And no one has to ask if Daniel's invited. He's always been the one person who never needed a reminder that I mattered. And now, finally, I don't need the reminder either. It's been almost a year since Vanessa's wedding. A lot has changed, and a lot hasn't. Daniel and I are still doing great. Iceland was everything we hoped for and more. We saw the northern lights from a hot spring, drank too much Brennivin, and supped like people with no guilt in their carry-ons. It was the first Christmas in my adult life that didn't come with a mental spreadsheet of other people's needs. My parents are still in the condo. It's small, beige, and very close to a freeway. My mother hates the noise. My father hates that there's no yard. But they don't complain to me anymore. Or if they do, it's in the safe, polite way people complain when they know the audience isn't going to rush in and fix things. My relationship with my mother is tentative. We talk occasionally. She's still seeing her therapist, which honestly impresses me. She doesn't over-apologize, but she's stopped minimizing. That's progress. She still sometimes slips, calls Daniel David. Once said Vanessa was the only one who really needed her growing up. But she catches herself now. And when she does, she winces and says, "I'm sorry. That wasn't fair." That's new. That's something. My father and I still don't speak. I saw him at a family barbecue a few months ago. He nodded. I nodded. That was it. He spent most of the afternoon talking to Travis about home renovation projects, like he hadn't lost the house through sheer refusal to ask for help. The irony was loud. So I turned it down and refilled my lemonade. Vanessa's wedding photos are still circulating on social media every few weeks. Apparently, the photographer used them in a bridal magazine. Good lighting, matching pastel dresses, and exactly one blurry photo of me and Daniel in the background, near the buffet table. Fitting, honestly. A few weeks ago, she texted me out of the blue. "Thinking of you. Would love to get lunch sometime. Just us." I haven't replied yet. Not because I'm angry. Just unsure. I'm not rushing back into old patterns just because they feel familiar. But I appreciate the attempt. I really do. In therapy, Dr. Chen asked me recently, "What does peace look like for you now?" I told her, "It looks like waking up without bracing for a request. It looks like cooking dinner with Daniel without a pit in my stomach about some family obligation. It looks like not being in every photo. Not being the hero. Not being the fixer. It looks like silence that isn't punishment, but freedom. I'm still angry sometimes. That kind of history doesn't disappear just because you set boundaries. But I'm not carrying it anymore. That's the difference. I'm not the family's safety net. I'm not the backup plan. I'm not the ghost who pays the bills in the background and gets cropped out of the frame. I'm Marilyn Morrison. Wife. Analyst. Daughter. Not perfect. Not vindictive. Just done being invisible. And honestly, that feels like the happiest ending I could have written.